Good morning. I think we can start. My name's John Lloyd. I'll be introducing a number of the sessions today and tomorrow. Just today I'm introducing the people who are on the sessions. Some of them. Some of them are not here. And I wanted to remind people, if they need reminding, of the spirit of Ian Ratu, who was a man who fought against the great two great pillars of our time, communism and fascism, in a sense the progenitor of this. And other Ratus, Pamela Ratu, who was the head of the Ratu Foundation, Nikolai Ratu, who's chairman of the foundation, is on his way, can't be here at the moment, and a man who, alas, is no longer with us, Christopher Coker, Professor Christopher Coker of the LSE, whose idea, this gathering of journalists, which was a few people, myself, some years ago, has blossomed into something quite important, both for the Ratu Foundation and I hope for journalism in the country as well. I'll introduce people as they appear. They'll introduce themselves, say a few words, and then we'll proceed to the substance of the conference itself. First of all, on my left, Dr. Tudor Musat. He's communications advisor to the presidential administration in Romania. He graduated from Cambridge some years ago, worked in law and as a legal counsellor, and then returned to transition into public policy and communications in Romania. I'll leave him to make a few words, both for himself and for the president, Nikos Ordan. Tudor.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. I should clarify at the beginning, absolutely, I'm not a doctor, but thank you so much for the heightening of the profile.
Everybody else is a doctor.
Yes, well, I'm sort of building my way up towards that direction, but thank you so much. So good morning, everyone. It's an honor and pleasure to be here and to join you at the opening of this journalism masterclass. I'm here particularly to convey to you the full appreciation and support of the President of Romania, Nikos Ordan, and to present the President's message to you. It mainly centers around the fact that the high caliber of Romanian, European, and global expertise found in this room and in this masterclass, and in the agenda for the following days, we think at the Presidency responds to a very, very clear and important necessity which Romania is facing, namely the need for strong independent journalism, which may be needed now more than ever. It's in particular given previous generations of journalists created and built through the Ratu Foundation have gone on to do so much important public work and shifting public policy and public perception. Even more so because this masterclass is meant under the title of Journalism in a Time of Turbulence. We were sure the following days will bring discussions of safeguarding democracy in the age of obviously social media, the relationship between journalism and politics, democratic and authoritarian settings for that transition. And obviously this all matters mainly because the fight for democracy is increasingly being fought in the information environment altogether, right? Amid war, hyper pressure on Europe's eastern flank, we see not only a targeting of borders, but mainly a targeting of trust, which journalism responds to critically. That's done through everything from disinformation, propaganda, covert financing, intimidating journalists, and it's all obviously designed to create confusion, cynicism, resignation, and to respond, obviously, Romania, and not only Romania, but just Europe, generally the world perhaps, needs skilled journalists to build solidarity through facts and truth. And that's why I think to bring a context home right here, it's particularly fitting, we think, that this event is rooted in the Ratzius family's democratic legacy, right? So Jon Ratziu particularly understood that freedom of expression is not just a slogan, it's absolutely a piece of infrastructure. And it's the infrastructure you build the rest of your society on. And in particular, the focus on mentorship and masterclasses is absolutely key because it turns values into craft. It's obviously one thing to tell young journalists, be brave, go out there and be brave, contest authority, but it's quite another to also give them editors, methods, time, a community which they can share those values and build on those values together. And we've seen the Ratziu Forum's mentees produce important stories in the past, published nationally, internationally, with significant effects on public policy. And that's what we think skill building looks like. It's reporting that lasts longer than the outrage cycle of that particular time or that particular year, and goes on to change structures, change perceptions, which lead to meaningful public shifts. The last point I would make is that obviously recent events, in particular in Romania, have shown how vulnerable democracies are, particularly to online and offline manipulation in the public sphere, right? Romania has lived through an unprecedented episode of the annulment of the elections last year amid allegations of foreign interference through social media. And one of the key lessons of that is obviously that information integrity is now altogether a resilience issue, not just a general value. And as a result, the president's message in particular is threefold. First of all, one of respect. The president respects very much the journalism's role in today's public sphere as a watchdog, and noting that scrutiny is not hostility and questioning power is not destabilization, but rather it's just a form of democratic hygiene. Secondly, that openness is key, and where the presidency can act through transparency, access to information, and respectful and inclusive dialogue, it will do so. And we know that trust is not built only by journalists, but also by institutions which react appropriately to questions and don't see them as ventures. And finally, a message of confidence. It's all too easy to speak about the death of journalism in the online world and the difficulties journalism finds itself in terms of financing. But this masterclass in particular, we think, points to something different, that journalism is evolving and learning how to verify in the age of AI, how to collaborate across borders, note the international setup today, and particularly the lineup of speakers the Ratziu Foundation has managed to get in this masterclass, we think brings that message across. Thank you so much and have a lovely few days for the masterclass, and we hope they're as enriching as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. Doctor next, Dr. Rebecca Shah, who is Deputy Ambassador at the British Embassy here. Dr. Shah.
Not a real doctor, not a useful doctor. I don't have a medical emergency on me.
Wait for it.
An academic one. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all. I could actually just say what he said, because I think you'd expressed it beautifully. And I represent the British government, and we work very closely with the presidency here because we see some of the challenges and the imperatives around the information space in very similar ways. So I'm very glad that we agree. I'm also very glad that the British Embassy can be supporting this event for the second year in a row. I wasn't here last year, but I have been here before, and I like it, and I keep coming back because the Ratziu Foundation starts to feel like a friendly place to be, but a place that really achieves things. I was last here 18 months ago, I think, when we were discussing, we had the theme for the dialogues of the return of history. And you will have heard John Bolton use this term, the end of history, last night in his comments. And I talked then about how my memories of as a child, my fears were not ghosts and monsters, but it was of a nuclear glow coming across the horizon that no human being could outrun, because I grew up in the shadow of the Cold War, and then the end of history being that feeling of optimism after the fall of the Berlin Wall, a sense that things had shifted, there was a different paradigm happening in Europe, certainly. And then the sense, the return of history being that realization slowly growing over recent years that maybe that optimism was somewhat misplaced. I would say now, even looking back on 18 months ago, it feels like we've had a big shift. And that 18 months ago already feels like a slightly distant, optimistic time, because it is undoubtedly true that history is back with gusto, loudly, violently, unpredictably. We're all acutely conscious of the international conflicts raging in the Middle East, on Europe's borders, but there are horrific cross-border and internal conflicts happening in Sudan, in other parts of Africa, in South and Central America, in countries across Asia. We have democratic backsliding in places we once assumed were resilient. We have an information environment which is increasingly contested, weaponized, and polluted. And journalism is absolutely at the heart of that, not in some sort of distant metaphorical sense, but in a real sense. So figures showed that 2024 was the most dangerous, deadliest year to be a journalist, the greatest number of journalists killed in the line of their work. Second only to one other year. I wonder if anybody can guess. 2025, the year that followed, right? This is showing that journalism is once again a high-risk profession, and it's not just in terms of physical threat, it's in terms of legal threat, surveillance, harassment, online abuse. And I think what is even more sort of insidious and terrifying is the fact that it's not only journalists that are under threat, although that does terrify us, of course, but that ideas themselves have become threatening. So words and ideas are being weaponized intentionally. Truth is deliberately contested, interfered with, manipulated. Romania has its own very recent experience of knowing what that's like. But information manipulation is not just about spreading falsehoods. It's also about flooding the space with noise, polarizing audiences, exhausting critical thinking, eroding trust in institutions, including the media itself, and reducing trust between people. And you get hand in hand with that this phenomenon that is sometimes justified as a result of that information space and is sometimes causal in creating that. I'm not going to, whichever way you look at it, the correlation with people to then trying to control freedom of speech and the information space and media freedom. And we have a situation now where we have leaders of countries that we used to call liberal democracies threatening journalists with treason for publishing critical material and calling the free press an enemy of the people, thus posing a risk to the very principles a free press is there to protect this. So in the context of all of this, journalism is not just nice to have, it's not just a profession, it's absolutely crucial to the democratic resilience of our societies and national security. And I don't say that because I think journalism has all the answers, right? I think that's a bit much pressure to put on the journalists in the room. But there is a process there that matters. Investigation before judgment, evidence before conclusion, verification, context, challenge, questioning. Imperfect, of course, but one of the last defenses that we have against manipulation and cynicism. And in this context, I have to say, I particularly dislike the phrase legacy media, to talk about our, traditional forms of media, because it implies somehow that there's something dated and old-fashioned about accountability and integrity, which I don't think is the case. So, for those of you who are sort of starting out, well, I suppose for those of you who are very experienced diplomats, I'm not telling you anything, journalists, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. For those of you who are starting out, this all might sound a bit daunting, and you think, actually, maybe I should be heading in the opposite direction. I hope not, because it is daunting, but I hope it is also profoundly motivating for you that this is an essential profession of our age. And so it's very timely we're having this conversation. It's also very timely because this month the UK has resumed co-chairpersonship of the Media Freedom Coalition, and I'm here with my Defend Media Freedom water bottle that I got at the launch of the Media Freedom Coalition in London in 2019. I'm very glad that it's back and that the UK is playing a role globally in defending the media space, defending journalists and their ability to do their work. So I hope that this puts fire in your belly and to be part of the free press, which, and I think I'm contractually obliged as a British diplomat to quote Churchill at some point. And Churchill said that the free press is the unsleeping guardian of every other right that free people prize. So, don't be daunted. I hope this weekend is like a spa break, a trip to the nutritionist, like a really good program at the gym, all combined, because this is about training, refining, strengthening, nurturing the talents that you already have to do the jobs that we need in these turbulent times. So, thank you very much.
Well, Rebecca, thank you very much. Thank you for getting in Churchill. We're beginning to miss him. It's hours since he's been last mentioned. But also thank you more seriously. Thank you and the embassy. The embassy has been a supporter of the foundation, and especially of our debates upon journalism. This is the largest so far. I'm sure, I hope it will continue, because as she has said, it's an existential issue now. It's more dangerous, it's more serious to be a journalist than it has been in the past, and it's worth remembering that. Next up is Dr. Sandra Palong, who was a senior advisor to President Iohannis. Sandra.
I don't know if there are senior or junior advisors, but thank you for promoting me in such a good way. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. I'd like to start by apologizing for my being a little late and for my missing last night's film. I hope I'll get the chance to see it, due to my personal privileged relationship with you. First of all, it's a great privilege and honor to be here and to be in a position to unpack with you the title of this meeting, Journalism in Times of Uncertainty. I've been pondering to what it could possibly bring to the table to unpack this, and I found two things. In fact, one main one. First of all, journalism used to be about the truth, right? What is truth? And if you corroborate it from free sources, it must be true. And about what is important. If it bleeds, it leads, right? If it affects people's lives, it is important enough for us to take notice and to write about it. Now, turbulence Thank God we have plenty of that. At the geopolitical level, there's turbulence. As we see, the decision-making poles are shifting. They're scrambled. Even in terms of IR, of the sort of conceptualization of international relations, we're moving from idealism to hyperrealism. We're moving from a bipolar world at the end of the Cold War to a multipolar world in the making. So plenty of turbulence. In the ideological sense, there's turbulence about the kind of regimes we are living under. It's no longer democracy, liberal democracy. We're trying to shoe in an illiberal democracy, whatever that truly means. We're not comfortable calling some of our friendly regimes that were guardians of democracies to call them authoritarian or, oh, God forbid, fascist. But we do have this sort of mob rule, as Plato would say, that after democracy ensues mob rule. But the most important dimension of the turbulence, in my opinion, is a conceptual dimension, is the epistemological level of what is true and what is important in an age of multiple truths and multiple means of pretending that the narrative that you present is true. How do you sift through those competing truths? And here's where journalism, as Rebecca said, comes in with a vengeance. Because because I used to work for Newsweek in my youth, many centuries ago, at least one. You need to speak truth to power and to sort what is true and what is important. But how do you make sure that people trust your truth? How do you make sure that people have confidence in your ability to present something that is true and vetted? And I think that's where journalism has sort of shifted agendas. And you journalists, my former self, need to be activists in a good sense, in an impartial sense. We need to demonstrate that what you claim to be true, it truly is, and what we claim to be important, it truly is. And in effect, the battle nowadays is about what is real, not what is true or important, but how do you demonstrate that something is real and get people to coalesce around that idea of reality. This, I think, is the new mandate that journalists have, to build confidence in a reality that sifts among competing models and competing narratives, which all prima facie seem equally real, but are artificially created. So I think it's a different kind of challenge, and I welcome all the discussions that such important and enlightened journalists and media and the foundation directors, because I was talking about being activists. I was an activist before working for two presidents, for my country, in fact, not for presidents per se, but for my country. And this is why I returned to Romania in 1990. Parenthesis, because I was raised, some of you may have heard this, by a grandfather general of the previous regime, who taught me that life doesn't belong to you entirely. It belongs equally to the place where you were born, which needs to be left better off after your passage in this world. So for you, the challenge to show and to argue forcefully that what you present as real is indeed real is a new challenge of the profession. And I wish you luck, because I have no idea how best to do this. So thank you very much. And I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Thanks also for reminding us that, as you call new, but I think also an old mandate for journalism has been and remains to sift through competing truths, as you call it. You also reminded us of the films that most of you will have seen last night, John Thorescu's films, which I thought were tremendously enlightening, especially the lengthy interview with John Bolton, who reminded us of the strangeness of the American president, but also of his power. We'll come back to that many times, I think, in the course of this, because he looms over all of journalism almost everywhere. And I think it would be, this session would be remiss not to take it seriously and to talk about it in some kind of depth. Next, after Sandra, we have another doctor, Dr. Stefan Hoffmann, who's director of the Adenauer Institute in Romania. Doctor.
Thank you very much. In the line of the other doctors who are not really, please keep sane, everybody, and alive today. I can't do much about it. Thank you very much for being invited here, and dear Pamela, thank you very much for being invited to this place. It's great to be among all these honorable guests, and I'm very happy to see Great Britain so involved in the center of Europe. It's a very good point to be here. It's an honor for us as Adenauer Foundation, being partner of this special event. I must say, in my former life, I've been a journalist too, so I still believe in this profession very much. And first of all, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Pamela, to her family, to all her colleagues here in this team, for their warm hospitality and their generosity on so many levels. Thank you for opening your doors, and not only your doors, but even your hearts, which is even more important. And this is the great part of this place. In this masterclass, we and you will address and explore many important topics: journalism, media, challenges our societies are facing, questions of democratic resilience. At the heart of all these topics lie two essential values: freedom and democracy. Without transparency, you have said this before, and that means a free press. Both values do not have any chances. This was a bit like Churchill as well. And that's why I think this initiative is very, very important, and it's very important that it's focused on young journalists, because it's a long-sighted project, future-orientated. Freedom and democracy are the core values of Adenauer Foundation too. I'm allowed to represent it together with Mihai Mark, my colleague here today. We are happy here. The idea why we were founded in 1955 was 10 years after the war, that democracy needs democrats, which is an important point. The guiding idea, the first name of us was Society for Christian Democratic Education. It sounds a bit different, and now we are Adenauer Foundation, you know, we're all over the world, in Bucharest too. We are now among the top 10 think tanks of the world, I have learned. This is a great thing too, and it's depending not only because we have so great minds and we are all doctors and whatever, but we live upon our networks and of our good contacts and all the people that surround us and the people we are allowed to talk to. And that's why this is a very special moment as well with Mr. Schwarz here for us and everybody else. So I will enjoy this very much. We have 3 topics we are dealing with today, which are the main topics of Adenauer Foundation. Freedom needs security, growth and sustainability needs innovation, and democracy needs participation. I think we will address all these core topics of Adenauer Foundation in these days and this weekend. You know as well that we are, Adenauer Foundation is biased. I said it before, Christian Democratic Education. But you would have to know we're near to Christian Democratic CDU in Germany, but most of all because we share the fundamental values and not because we are controlled by them. And we do not control them, sometimes it's a pity. But there is one idea behind which unifies us. This is putting the human being in the center of all doing. It's not the market, and it's not societal concept, an abstract concept, it's the human being. And therefore I think this building of ideas is very adaptive design, it's called nowadays. And this is where I think Ratio Forum for Democracy and Adenauer Foundation are really parallel, or we are deeply aligned. And this is the strong part of it. What I really admire of Ratio community is this strong sense of family. For more than a decade, I've worked in the south of Germany, in an area full of companies which are global hidden champions. You know, you might have heard of them. There are many of them. The greatest secret behind their success is that they are mostly family-owned businesses, and this they rely on long-term strategies and they think of the next generation. And this part, dedication, responsibility, personal fairness, personal belonging, and this remarkable willingness to open doors, even the doors to one's private living room. Democracy in Tura and within the Ratio tradition is something deeply, deeply personal. And it was, as I mentioned, Konrad Adenauer, democracy was deeply personal for him too. And I think when we're here together, the great thing is it's a deeply personal meeting too. So I enjoy looking forward to our meetings, to our discussions. And thank you very much for being allowed to be here. Thank you very much.
Many thanks indeed. As you remind us, you are up for the next session. We look forward to it very much. The last doctor, but not the least, is Emilia Knight. Emilia has been here many times before. I'm glad he's come back. He's a former director of the London School of Economics Ideas, of which she had many.
Thanks, John. I'll just give you a brief background to LSE Ideas. LSE Ideas is a foreign policy think tank. And what Ideas does is connect academic knowledge, academic research with the practice of democracy and strategy. it's a key differentiator from many other think tanks. The Ideas also runs an executive master's in international strategy, which has been very successful. And the center was established 18 years ago. About 7 years ago, just over, we entered into a partnership with Ratio Forum, and have been very lucky in doing these incredible events that primarily Pamela organizes. And there are 3 events every year. One is, like today, a journalism masterclass. The second one is a history workshop. And the third one is dialogues on democracy. I highly recommend all of them. It's incredible. And I do know that my also sadly passed away, Professor Kilker, was instrumental in setting up all these. Now, I don't know how much you get engaged in the workshop, but I recommend just listen, participate, and you will leave very full of new ideas and just wonderful experiences. I hope you enjoy the masterclass, and I would like just to say a big thank you to Pamela. She's a pleasure to work with, and so is the rest of the Ratio team. Thank you.
Many, many thanks to you and to all. There's, I think, a pause now, but I appeal to... Sorry?